over the last 5 years, there's been a growth in the market share of independent retailers.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Welcome back to another episode of Mastering E-commerce Marketing. Today we're joined by Amanda McCormick Bacal, a leading expert in fashion marketing and digital wholesale. From heading marketing at Ralph Lauren to lead marketing at Joor, the top B2B wholesale platform processing over $20 billion annually, Amanda has seen firsthand how D2C advancements are reshaping B2B. She's here to share insight on industry trends, digital transformation, and the future of fashion wholesale. Amanda, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and thank you for your time. And Amanda, before we get started, if you had to pick 3 words that sum up what mattered most to you, whether in life or work, what would they be?
What a great question. I would say my 3 words would be dedication. When you love what you do, and you really put effort into it, I think it's something that really shows. Empathy. So really putting yourself in others' shoes, whether that be colleagues, clients, really kind of understanding and acting with empathy. And my 3rd word would be creativity. And I think that applies to so much. It could be creativity in the visual sense. It could be problem solving. It really, for me, is about thinking differently and opening yourself up to new ideas and not just doing what you've done in the past. So all of that to me is really about leading with creativity.
Love it. I mean, I love the being different part, right? It said that being different is much better than being better, right? So you always have that creativity aspect in place, right? With that tenacity, right? Determination, and obviously empathy. So thank you so much. I love it. So that's a great start. Amanda, I wanted to ask you, what inspired you transition from brand marketing in Ralph Lauren to leading a global marketing at a B2B tech space at Joor?
So I've been fortunate in my career to work with some really amazing brands, and have had a wonderful experience being able to do that. I think for me, the transition was actually in 2020, in that time period. If we take ourselves back to the pandemic and everything that was happening in the world of retail and fashion, there was so much innovation and so much happening in the digital technology space. And I was realizing that this was something that was becoming increasingly important really for any business. And I was very interested in the impact that it was having on the industry. So I think that's what led me to look for opportunities that would allow me to learn more and continue to build my skill set and expand into fashion technology. And I was fortunate to be able to join the team at Joor to head up global marketing and help to support the company's growth.
Interesting. And for the audience who don't know about Joor, can you tell us exactly what Joor is doing?
Sure. Joor is the fashion industry's leading digital wholesale platform. So we're the platform where brands will present their collections and invite buyers to be able to view the collections and place orders. We have over 14,000 brands globally and about 650,000 buyers around the world who use the platform. And it's really a dynamic marketplace where brands and retailers can connect and create new relationships and then work together to be able to build their assortment, place their order, and manage their ongoing business together.
Wow, amazing. I mean, obviously you started in brand, fashions, and D2C, and advancement in D2C influenced a lot the way B2B wholesale operates today, right? So can you share more details, right, about that?
For sure. Yeah. I think that what's happened is as consumers, we've all become so used to the ease and convenience of being able to go onto a website and place an order and have it easily shipped. And I think what's happened is we now expect that in the B2B world as well. So buyers grew up digitally native and they're used to that convenience. And whereas they in the past would have come into a showroom and they would have seen a paper line sheet and circled things that they were interested in, all of that has really shifted. And now the expectation is that the brand will have a digital showroom and that a buyer can be able to view the collection and place orders from anywhere in the world. And, again, as we think about from the consumer space, there's such a convenience to be able to go onto a website and look up store inventory and know if it's going to be available in your size before you make that trip to the store. I think very similarly in B2B, a buyer really appreciates being able to log in and see what's available in inventory. If they have a style that's working really well, they want to be able to quickly be able to hop in and see if they can place a reorder and how quickly they're going to be able to get it. So that efficiency really comes about because of the use of digital technology and the investment in technology and integrating those systems together.
Yes, and obviously using variety of like display options, right? Probably pictures, videos, advanced search, very, very important, obviously. And a lot of technology development just try to replicate that offline experience. And as we know for fashion, and let's say luxury fashion, sometimes it's so difficult to replicate, offline experience to an online experience. But I guess you find a way to do that quite successfully on a global scale.
Yes, and what we found is exactly what you're saying, that with high-res imagery, 360 imagery, video, you're really able to give the buyer a very accurate sense of the product and give them the confidence in being able to place orders, even if they're not able to be there in person in the showroom. And there are certainly use cases for both. So there are still times when buyers will want to meet in person and they'll want to visit a showroom or a trade show and see the collection. And then there's lots of other use cases where this opens your opportunity to the world, where someone might not have the ability to meet with you in person. Or, as I mentioned earlier, they may be working with you, they may trust your quality level, and they want to just be able to place the season's order, place a reorder. Things like that can happen much more efficiently digitally.
Of course, and obviously inventory planning throughout the year and just giving more trusted forecasting, right? I mean, all these tools are definitely available. And Amanda, what are some of the key trends you've seen on the rise for independent retailers out there?
So it's interesting, actually. We have a tremendous amount of data at Joor because of the volume of transactions that are happening through the platform. What we have seen with regards to independent retailers in particular is that over the last 5 years, there's been a growth in the market share of independent retailers. So when we look at the portion of all of the orders being placed on Joor that come from that specialty store independent space, it's grown over the last 5 years from 47% up to now 59%. And so this is definitely an area that is gaining market share. And I think really speaks to the way that the independent retailers understand their customer base and are curating their assortment very specifically for their clients. I think there are differences in how independent retailers or enterprise retailers behave, and we see some of those trends as well through the data. One thing I'd say that's common is that given the fact that we've been in a bit of a challenging retail environment, all retailers are really looking for ways to reduce risk. So we see that affecting buying patterns a bit in that buyers are perhaps buying later in the season. So they're buying closer to delivery. So the time frame, those market windows are expanding. We also have seen that buyers are placing a small initial order, wanting to test and see how something's performing, and then really wanting the flexibility from the brand to be able to go in and place a reorder. So the reorder rate on Joor has been increasing. It's actually gone up from about 32% to around 39% the last couple of years. But going back to your question about independent retail and how is that performing, when you think about that reorder rate, it's even higher amongst department stores and enterprise retailers, where it's almost half of orders, versus independent retailers where it's maybe around 30%. And I think that speaks to the fact that independent retailers really are discovering new talent and buying into new fashion maybe to a greater degree versus relying on styles that have performed and wanting to then be able to maximize those.
Yes. Yeah. So that's obviously giving them more option for innovation, right? And doing something new, something different, right? As we started this episode, right? It's so it's so important. And we see that shift also on the D2C side of things, right? Brands are now more and more shifting towards wholesale. What do you think, is driving this change?
Yeah, there's been an interesting shift over the years. I think at one point there was a real focus on D2C, and then that evolved into a focus on e-commerce specifically, especially with the pandemic, where that was for many brands the only viable channel. And I think what started to happen is brands recognized that customer acquisition costs continued to go up, a lot of challenges around return rates. And they started to realize that the healthiest approach would be a diversified distribution model and incorporating wholesale, because it can bring a lot of benefits to the overall business. We regularly survey our network of brands and retailers. And in our most recent survey, we found that over half, the majority said wholesale was actually their most profitable channel. So I think that brands are recognizing the benefits there of being able to increase their visibility and raise brand awareness, being able to position themselves amongst a really desirable competitive set. Of course, driving sales with having more points of distribution. So I think that is what is perhaps broadening the lens of some of the traditionally D2C brands in looking to add wholesale to their overall business. And we've certainly been seeing that at Joor. We've had a number of D2C brands reaching out and looking to be able to leverage the platform to be able to grow their wholesale.
Yes. And I assume these days, D2C brands are, as you said, are struggling, right, into growth and exhaust their D2C potential. So they are trying different things, right? Obviously wholesale. And also some of the big brands they indeed exhausted their D2C. There's no way to grow. So obviously they're, testing and trying to maybe strategically go to wholesale. So yeah, that I truly believe in this trend. I mean, I always believe in the strength of D2C and B2B, strategies together. You just
and how they support each other.
Exactly.
So I think over time, that's really been the proven formula that they together and complement each other.
Yeah. I mean, in the foundation of the business, you can support both of them. Obviously, there are more skill sets that I acquired for wholesale or different skill sets, but in the foundation of how to manage orders and how to process orders, the back-end side of things, a lot of things are similar. So if you have problems with those issues on D2C, you will have those problems on B2B as well. So if you have a healthy business, then yeah, you can grow on B2B and on wholesale as well. And it's a great opportunity. So Amanda, Joor processes more than 20 billion annually. That I think, I mean, you aggregate obviously huge amount of data. I mean, beyond some of the statistics that you've shared with us until now, any interesting insights that you can share with us about the industry?
Sure. I think we recognize how unique our data set is, both the volume of transactions and also the fact that our insights are really leveraging real orders of product that will be in store 6 months later. So it is very concrete information on what's happening in the industry and what's working and what's not. When I look at last year, I think some of the most interesting observations are that overall, globally, buyers are buying into a little bit of a lower price point. So there's been a reduction in the average price point of products. It's gone down about 7% from 2023 to 2024. And I think that's a reflection of a lot of things that we're hearing about consumer sentiment and wanting to be very considered in their purchases. And so buyers are looking to be able to offer a product mix that perhaps ensures that they have entry price point product as well as the more high-end offerings. A lot of people right now are very interested in what's happening in China because that has been such a driver of luxury sales and growth for so many years. And there's a lot of conversation about the pullback in China. And our data shows that Chinese retailers did dramatically reduce the quantity of units ordered last year. What's interesting is that the average price point in China did not go down. So they're not trading down for lower priced goods.
Mm-hmm.
It was more this recalibration and reduction in the quantity of units that they were ordering, which I think is really interesting in terms of understanding what's happening and retailers adjusting to what they feel that consumer demand will be. And then a third insight that I would share is beyond analyzing geographically what's happening in different regions, we also will often look at specific categories and really kind of understand what's happening in a category. And we did this recently for the handbag category, and we found that the fastest growing segment was actually that $250 to $500 price point. Mm-hmm. It actually grew from 63 to 70% of overall units purchased. So a lot of growth and opportunity in that price point, whereas the really high-end bags, the over $1,000 price point, is where we saw reductions. So it validates what we're hearing, that handbag prices have from the luxury brands have continued to go up over the last few years, and that now they're meeting with some consumer resistance to that price point, and buyers are adjusting accordingly. So those are some of the examples of the types of insight work that we do and how we leverage our data. We typically publish these kind of insights on a regular basis, really to be able to help our clients understand the market and to inform them and their business strategies to help them to successfully drive their business.
Yes, very interesting. All this like middle of the range price range that got affected, right? Like during this. So, any ideas why just this specific pricing category, or is just a representation, of some specific products, or?
I think it represents an opportunity for many brands. I think that there has been a lot of discussion around the luxury price points, and we've definitely seen them increase over the last few years. And so this may just be a reaction to that, to customers perhaps leveling off in the value that they attribute and what to them makes the most sense from a price perspective. And I think what's happening is that then retailers see those results and see where their consumer is leaning in, and they want to make sure they have that represented in their assortment.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. So Amanda, I mean, you transitioned from a brand, marketing to tech marketing. I mean, what is the same? What's changed for you? What did you realize during this transition?
There are definitely differences between B2B and B2C marketing, but I think actually there are also many fundamental similarities in terms of the underlying strategy. So I would say the importance of understanding your target audience, how to raise awareness of your product, how to drive engagement with your brand, and then ultimately lead to conversion that is going to help to grow your business. So I think that piece of the underlying marketing strategy is very similar and then just applied to two different fields. At Joor, I would say we actually approach marketing in two ways. So part of what we're doing is marketing our solution. So we're very focused on what are the challenges facing the fashion industry right now? What are the pain points for brands and retailers? And how do we develop solutions to those challenges? So from a marketing perspective, we are communicating how our product adds value and will help you in growing your business. The other part of our marketing is really directed at how do we engage retailers and how do we drive them to the platform to discover new brands and to place orders. And so in that vein, the types of things we're doing are things like publishing fashion trend reports, really kind of staying on the pulse of what's happening in fashion and highlighting seasonal needs that a store might have to be able to fill out in their assortment. We curate digital trade shows. We highlight specific brands and encourage that discovery. And so in some ways, I would say that part of the marketing is more akin to a B2C marketing where you're looking to drive purchase behavior. So within the world of Joor, we really do both.
Yeah. And in terms of the marketing channel that you use on both, both fronts, it's you use the same channels, or is anything on the B2B that works, more efficient to you?
We're using a range of different channels. So typically for each of our campaigns, we start off focused on understanding what our message is. So based on the specific audience for that campaign, what is it that we're trying to communicate and how is that expressing the value of Joor? And then from there, we start to define what objectives we hope for that campaign to reach. And from there, how are we going to communicate and what tactics are going to help us to achieve those objectives? So each campaign can be different, but we use a range of different marketing tools to be able to reach our audience. I would say in the B2B space, certainly performance marketing. So paid search, paid social, a lot of focus on SEO and organic. We do a tremendous amount of thought leadership and content, as you can tell from some of the insights work. Certainly, we have a close relationship with our network, so we leverage email, communications in the platform. So it's really about defining the right touch points for the specific campaign that we're working on.
Got it. Interesting. And obviously you're running a global marketing operations. And so those campaigns they have some customization or they're like different across different regions?
No, they definitely are localized. Every market is very different. And I think it's very important when you're thinking about global marketing to really understand your audience in that market. There are likely to be perhaps different competitors in different markets. There are different media partners. So the way that a customer gathers information or could be influenced by various different sources will be different based on the market. So it's not just about translating. It is much more about really understanding the customer in each geography and what is going to be the most effective way to reach them.
Interesting. And so you try to, get some insights or feedback from a specific country or region and try to grow there, or you also probably have your plans to penetrate new markets and just, where the Joor brand is still unknown. Is it still on some of the tasks on your plate?
Yes, I'd say we're fortunate that we have a very strong global presence. We have buyers from over 150 countries. And so it's a very broad spectrum of geographies around the world. So we're constantly speaking to a global audience. And then it's really about speaking to brands and retailers and gathering feedback, speaking to our teams that are located around the world, and understanding where the needs are and where there's opportunity, and then building the strategy to that.
Yeah. And in terms of your marketing activities, how do you make decisions regarding, do it in-house versus working with agencies? I mean, what's your style usually? Or it's dependent on the use case?
It's a mix of both. We leverage agencies where there can be added expertise or efficiency in doing so. We will sometimes do things with external partners where a degree of flexibility is needed. So if it's an area with an inconsistent workload where we would want to bring on external resources to support needs that might be flexing throughout the year, then those are use cases where that makes sense. And then there's also, a lot of benefits to having things done in-house and the consistency of that and the deep understanding of Joor and our product. So I think it's really about striking the right balance of both.
Yes, I mean, just make sure the message is aligned, right, with company vision, mission, values. That these are like unique, selling points. And obviously this is like knowledge that you need to leverage, right, with in-house staff, and just to make sure that fully aligned. What advice would you give to brands, looking to thrive in the evolving wholesale landscape?
Advice I would say, brands who are looking to grow, my first point of advice would be to be discerning, to really vet your potential wholesale partners, and think about really creating partnerships that are mutually beneficial, where you're aligned on the audience and the customer that you're reaching. And aim to build long-lasting partnerships. If you think about, again, you were asking earlier about the parallels between B2C and B2B. In the B2C world, a lot of investment goes into the customer acquisition. And if you only had one purchase, then it could be very hard to maintain a profitable, growing business. You want to have that repeat purchase and that customer retention and build something together from that. I think in B2B, the equivalent to that is if you are launching with a store with one order, it's going to be much more beneficial to your overall business to nurture a relationship where then you're working together over seasons, and you have repeat orders that you can learn from and help to grow that business together. My second piece of advice would be to invest in technology and integrate your systems so that your data flows seamlessly from one to the next. I've seen that really unlocks tremendous value and can also create great efficiency in the organization. So I think that there's been such an acceleration of digital adoption over the last few years. And the reason for that is the benefits that businesses are seeing from it. And then my third piece of advice would be, and it almost goes back to your first question about the 3 words and what is perhaps most important. I would say my third piece of advice is to offer something differentiated in the market. So think about what the customer needs and what is not currently being met. So if you're a fashion brand, that could be a category of business, a fabrication, a price point. Look at what's out there and think about where you have something different to say in order to carve out a unique space for your brand and position it very uniquely within the product offerings that are out there.
Yeah. So what I hear you say is actually spending more time on research before you kick off, right? Just spending more time trying to understand categories, products, what's trending, and see, the best positioning to get into the space, right?
And what's not out there today that you feel like you have an opportunity to provide.
Interesting. And what's the some of the fundamentals for evaluating and probably selecting a wholesale partner?
So thinking about their customer audience, is it a customer that you feel like your product would resonate with? Thinking about your existing geographic distribution, and is this a new market that you want to enter? Is it an area where you feel like you have more opportunity that's not going to cannibalize your existing business? Thinking about price points that the store is very successful in, and does that match up and align with your pricing strategy? So I would say those are all very important. Understanding the other brands and product mix that the store offers, to understand how your brand would fit within that portfolio. It's interesting. One of the biggest challenges that we hear from brands is, I have a really hard time figuring out who the right partner is to work with. And I'm searching on Google and I'm looking at websites and I'm looking on Instagram, and it's really hard to be able to figure out and find the right contact. And then we hear the opposite on the retailer side. We hear a lot of feedback that buyers are just inundated and they get 500 emails a day from brands that they're not familiar with, and they don't have the right tools to be able to effectively evaluate whether that's somebody they'd be interested in working with or not. And this is something that we recognized was a real challenge in the industry. And we just recently launched a product to be able to address this called Joor Discover, where brands can log into Joor and can search within our retailer directory, and they can filter by all of these things we're just talking about. So geographic region, product categories, price points, brands carried, to be able to really identify the stores that are going to be the best fit for them. So when you say kind of what are the right things to be looking for, I think those are the key characteristics to be able to make sure that you're targeted in your approach, and that you're finding partners that are ultimately going to be a successful match for your brand.
Yeah. Wow, Amanda, this is super interesting. It's also great to hear you talk from the place that you are, right? Leading marketing for such a global big organization, and obviously your background in fashion and now in tech. So it's really inspiring. I really would like to thank you, right, for your time and all the great insights, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful discussion, and I appreciate your time and having me on.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimi, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimi at www.vimi.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free for life package. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more valuable insights in our next episode.